Let's watch this, and then we'll discuss.
The Bible defines life not as beginning at conception. It specifically says that a fetus is property. So in the scripture, there is an argument, and in that argument, there is a woman is carrying a fetus, and there is an accidental miscarriage caused by the fight. The father is compensated, it says, however much he deems it worth for the loss of that fetus.
Now let's read the verse properly and see if the neonate is considered property. Because two men will be fighting, they've heightened the level of liability because they're doing reckless endangerment. They're fighting in a public place. They're acting violently. Even if it's not toward the woman, but they're still acting in a reckless manner. And one strikes the woman. And there's a miscarriage. The term here is the child comes out. The Torah calls it a child. If it was property, the Torah would not call it a child. It would use some other word, like the issue or the seed or something else. But it calls it a child, indicating it is a human being. If there is no fatality to the child actually survives, then the husband, the father, has a right to press charges. It's in his purview to do that, not just the mother. He could go ahead and press charges, and they'll be punished. And a criminal fine will be levied against them for whatever the court deems proper, because there was no fatality here. The next verse, if there is a fatality, then it's soul for soul. Why, if there's no fatality, is there still a criminal penalty? The answer is because they were acting with reckless endangerment, and they still harmed the woman, and they also might have done detriment to the child. If there is a fatality, then they have to pay a soul for soul. In other words, they pay the full human price. Now, they don't have to go to the city of refuge like other accidental and manslaughter does, because the city of refuge is only meant for people who are viability that is known. A neonate, we don't know its viability at this moment, and therefore, instead of going ahead and sending them to the city of refuge for accidental unaliving, they have to get a soul instead of a soul. Should you say that the fatality is going on the woman? That's very difficult. Number one, the wording doesn't say whatever happened to the child. Number two, why in the next verse, when there is a fatality, don't they have to go to the city of refuge? Why do they just pay a criminal penalty of soul for a soul? But let's say, even beyond that, you want to say that it has to do with the woman. That still does not prove that the neonate was property, because number one is it called it a child. And number two is the only reason why you're able to get a penalty price demanded by the father and brought to Beis Din for a criminal punishment is not because of property, because that would be a civil punishment. They wouldn't use the word of punishment there. And further, he's still able to demand something because we can't evaluate the value of a neonate. We don't know viability. We don't know what type of defects it would have been born with, et cetera, et cetera. Also, it all depends on how early in the pregnancy it was. Therefore, the Torah says that there's this criminal punishment that's done on a case-by-case basis, issued by the Beis Din and paid to the father. But not because the fetus was property. It's because how else do you deal with a fetus that we don't know its viability? Any questions, let me know.